Hello there, Mark here, and this is a review of the fights from my first Brazilian Jiu Jitsu competition. I actually made two other videos. The first one summarizes my decision to compete after just 6 months of training and how I felt about it. And the second one shows how the competition works, what I did and how I felt as I prepped for my first fights, and summarize the results of the fights and what happened after. Basically, my first 6 months training under Coach Washington and our team have been a lot of fun and very humbling. I've spent quite a bit of time learning the fundamental jiu-jitsu techniques from standing, from bottom, and from top. But I've probably spent most of this time defending from attacks and trying to survive from very uncomfortable positions that my training partners have put me in or that I've put myself in. I've tapped out dozens of times, from countless submissions like strangles to arm bars, guillotines, triangles, smothers, leg locks. You name it, I've had it all put on me. At times, I can get control and try to attack, and every now and then I can get some good pins and attempts at submissions. But by far the weakest part of my game is from the bottom and trying to retain or regain my guard and then escaping side control and mount if my guard has been passed. So knowing my game in this way, I developed a game plan for how I was going to fight in this competition. In summary, my game plan was very simple. It was to get on top, score points, go for submission, don't get put on bottom, and use my gas tank. Of course, there's lots of details behind each of these. First, to get on top, the plan was to start the fight aggressively on the feet and go for a low-risk takedown using collar ties and pressure to get an ankle pick, a trip, or a lateral drop. I'd then go on to try to score points by passing guard with moves that work for me, like double unders, a Toriander, or get into headquarters and use a knee smash or a knee slice. Then attack to get more points for knee on belly, mount, and take in the back. I'd go for any submissions that I see during the transitions of these moves, in particular looking for a Kimura, which is my go-to submission that I can get from just about any position, or work my way to a rear naked choke or armbar if I can get to the back. If I do end up on the bottom, my aim would be to retain my guard and go after a handful of attacks I have from the Williams guard, a Kimura sweep, a scissor sweep, or a shoulder crunch. Through all of this, I just need to be patient. I know I have good conditioning and a big gas tank, and I expect to be stronger at the end of matches. So that was my plan, and I felt ready with a little bit of confidence, although I was super nervous. I'd gone through my pre-fight warm-ups and stretching. I did my official weigh-in, in which I was 5 pounds under for my 195-pound division. They called my name, and I went over to my designated mat to await my match. I got some last encouraging advice from my coach and teammates. The other guys in my division actually fought directly before me, so I got to watch them beat each other up. Their match was intense. I actually was surprised how hard they went at each other. It was very physical, and they went the full 5 grueling minutes with the match being decided on points. My nerves and adrenaline were really pumping at this point, and I knew it would just be a couple of more minutes before my match started. I was ready to go. So I came onto the mat for my first match. Coach Washington, my teammates, my family were there, along with a big contingent from my opponent. I was really pumped up, very nervous, a little bit scared. I really didn't know what to expect. The first thing I noticed was that I was quite a bit taller than this guy, but he was stocky and he was muscular under his gi, so I figured he'd be strong. We kicked things off, and I was intent to win the grip fight and basically control his collar and not let him get a hold of mine. He got grips on me and immediately attempted a collar drag, and he pulled me down. I immediately tried to get around to his back, but he was strong, his grips were there, he had my lapel, and he just threw me down to my side. I thought that was a pretty weak effort on my part. I had kind of a half guard thing going on here with my leg over his head. I'm really not sure what I was attempting to do here. I wanted to climb up on his back, but he still had a hold of my lapel, which you can't see here. But he was just holding tight, and he was not going to let go. I had my leg up near his head. I was waiting to see if I could pop a triangle up there, but I was unable to do that. He started to move around to try to pass my guard, and he actually got pretty close, but I was able to control his arm and not let him get his arm around my head. He still had my leg controlled, and he then tried to turn the other way. I think if he just let go of my lapel, he could have just swum under my leg and then passed my guard from the back like he's trying to do here. But I had his lapel just between my legs there, and I think that's what was stopping him from going around. He let go, then I let go, and I was able to get up to my knees. He was working for some grips here. He was trying to lock his hands together, and I was preventing him from doing it. He wasn't really putting much weight on me here, so I was comfortable here, and I was just resting at this point. I was waiting to try to get a hold of his wrist so I could free my head out of there and either sit out or stand up. So we were working here. This was taking far too long. I really need to be more aggressive next time, but I find myself in this position. But I finally did get his wrist. I was able to lock it out, then I was reaching for a leg, and then I was able to stand up and get out of there. And we went right back to the grips. He immediately, of course, went for another collar drag. I was more prepared for it this time. It didn't work. I was able to get right back to my knees and get up. I was actually feeling a little bit gassed here. I was surprised how gassed I was. He came out really aggressive and he was strong.
One more.
So we went after the grips again. I really wanted to go after the ankle pick, but I couldn't get a hold of his sleeve, and he would just grab my lapel before I could do anything. One technique you can use is that you can break the lapel grip with a 2-on-1. I never tried to do that in this match. There's the collar drag again. I was ready for it. I went for a little hip toss here, which I executed horribly. Again, I was winded, but then I started to notice that he was really winded also. He was getting weaker, he was getting more tired, moving a little slower. So I started stepping forward. I was looking to throw him, or if he let me pull his head down, I was going to go after one of his ankles. I couldn't get any of that going. More hand fighting here. I just couldn't get a hold of any of the grips that I wanted. Pushed him out of bounds here. I really do want to be more aggressive. At this point, the clock was running down. It was under 2 minutes. I was down by an advantage point. There were no other points scored at this time. He went for another collar drag here. I was ready for it. I was able to get close to side control. He still had my leg there, but he left his arm down by his side. It was exposed. I grabbed it straight away. This is my favorite submission, and I got it before he knew what happened to him. That's my go-to move. Once I lock that on there, I really like to hold on to it and not let go until I've done something with it. So that was my first match. You know, I didn't ever really feel in danger. On the bottom, the way I retained my guard was poor, and I really need to lock my closed guard around him. And then I can go to work with my sweeps and my escapes and my attacks, but I never did that. So coach was really, really upset with me. He had a lot to say to me afterwards. So even though I won, I never really got on the attack, and it wasn't really until I locked on that Kimura that I was in control. So I was not all that pleased with this match. Of course, just getting the win, getting a submission, getting the nerves out of the way, getting through that first match, that was a big deal for me, and I felt that was a moral victory, if nothing else, although the submission was nice. But I certainly didn't fight the way that I wanted to fight. I would have to do a lot better with this next opponent. I saw him, he was strong, he attacked, he controlled the whole match with his first opponent. So I need to perform a lot better in this next one. So here we go with the second match. Again, I was a lot taller than this guy, but this guy was really put together. He was shredded underneath. He had abs and pecs, big tattoo. Not that those things mean anything, but he was strong, and he was a lot more aggressive than my last opponent. I tried to go for a couple of fakes early, went for a foot sweep. He had a good grip on me. I had the wrong grips again, and I really need to work on that. He did a really nice inside trip on me. For me to go down from that, again, is pretty weak defense, poor balance, poor posture. But he did it. He got me down with it, and I just looked to retain the grips and keep my knees up in his face. I actually had a potential arm bar here. I went for it. I went for the arm bar. I pulled on it hard. It just slipped out, and he was able to reestablish his position. I was really focused on keeping my legs, my knees between my body and his, but I still don't know what I'm doing with this leg up on his shoulder. I really need to work to reestablish my guard. He too could have just shucked past my leg and worked to pass guard. I made a big mistake here. I let him get his arms up around my face and head. I had good frames here, and then I was able to weave in this little half guard thing. But again, this is a pretty weak guard position. I actually did move in and try to get my feet in there and try for a sweep, but he shifted over to the left and was able to block that. He was super gassed at this point. I was surprised how tired he was, and he just completely stopped moving. He was breathing really heavy. He was looking at me in the eyes. So I just went for this grip on his collars. I went for a baseball grip, and he let me grab it. And as soon as I got it, I kicked him out of the way. I let him pass my guard over to my right side, and then I did the turn. And if you've ever had this choke put on you, it comes on quick. I had it tight. He tapped after just a few seconds in that hold. I know most of the people that were watching had no idea what happened. They were all telling me not to let him get on my back, but I had the choke on tight. He couldn't breathe. I could see his face turning red. So I was fortunate to get that on him. He was gassed, but again, I didn't execute my strategy at all. And coach was absolutely livid for me. First, for my game while standing and not gaining grip control and not attacking in a good way. And then when I was down, I didn't retain my guard. I didn't regain my guard. I didn't get into closed guard, which is where I can attack from and I can be more effective. So coach here, as I go over to him, he was just pleading with me to do more with my game. He congratulated me, but there was quite a bit of advice in there for me as well. I was relieved, super happy that I was able to finish. This guy especially, he was a lot stronger, he was a lot better. I didn't do it in the best way, but I got my 2 matches out of the way. This was a gold medal for me, and it was a real relief. I must give a special thanks to my coach, Washington Luis, out of Rio de Janeiro, and the great group of guys and gals I train with. They're a great mix of new and experienced jiu-jitsu practitioners, white belts to black belts, younger people, and older people like me from many professions and backgrounds. We have fun, we teach and learn with each other in every session we have, and we take care to make sure nobody gets hurt as we try to crush each other. Coach Washington has helped to create and build a great culture for our group, and this makes it fun and challenging and safe. I'd also like to thank my 2 kids, Amelia and Lucas, for helping to inspire me. They started their jiu-jitsu journey just a couple of months after me, and watching them and participating in their journey has been such a joy. I actually hope to get them out competing very, very soon, maybe next month in Austin. And thanks to my wife, Maria, for tolerating all of this nonsense and providing me with ice bags and ibuprofen whenever I need them. So that's it. My first jiu-jitsu competition. I highly encourage anyone who wants to improve their fitness and have fun to give jiu-jitsu a try. I'm 6 months in and I'm having a blast. Okay, peace.
We're at jiu-jitsu and Daddy's about to play in a tournament.